Hey guys, welcome back. Good morning to everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm trying out my glasses. They're a little bit crooked, I think. Trying out my glasses. They are for like blue light, computer, laptop, and cell phone. It's like the light. I get a lot of migraines, and when I'm studying or on the phone all day or for hours, it really affects me, especially on the laptop. I could dim the light, I can put it on night mode, and it still gives me migraines that I can't study anymore. Like, I get to the point where I get a migraine and I can't physically look on a computer anymore. So I bought them yesterday and hopefully they work. And I think they're cute. One sec. Okay. So, let's see. I'm sending healing energy to you. Everything's gonna be okay. There's a lot of changes going on right now. You will be attacked. You will be mentally, emotionally, spiritually attacked while you're in this process. But just catch yourself and put yourself in focus on the positive, on the light, on the Lord. You're gonna push through this, remove energetically all the barriers, the blockages, the things you feel, the stuck energy, the negativity, the hurt, the pain. Remove it energetically so you could get past every time you need to deal with the system, with the court, with doing community work, that's gonna protect your energy and your faith and your heart, your chakras. Don't be so practical about it. Don't think of it as something that matters, because it doesn't. Start sitting alone. Sit alone in the quiet, in the silence, and practice on getting closer to the spirit realm, to God. Just close your eyes and sit somewhere. Even meditating is laying down. I meditate before going to sleep, especially like with my son after he goes to bed. You know, I make sure he falls asleep before, and I just, you know, lay down and close my eyes and meditate. You know, meditation's not something specific, it's what feels right to you and comfortable to you and what fits with you. I've been noticing that, Lord, I feel so grateful and proud of my son. Recently, I was, how do you say this? You know, was in conversation with the Lord, and I was just, you know, I'm working on letting go and leaving it to God and letting God, right? It's been a process, and just like letting go of people who are not good for us, right? Who make us stuck in life and do more harm than good. So just working on the art of detachment and working on my heart space, all my chakras, my solar plexus, my sacral chakra, and you know, I gave it to God, to the weight of responsibility and of being my son's parent, mom and dad. It's heavy, and I carried that, you know, for a long time. Even since before he was born, I'm like, physically, it's heavy. Him being pregnant, it's like you're carrying your child. But just felt burdened, you know, like how things occurred with my son's father just burdened me more to carry that, you know, instead of being something not creating, but instead of the experience being beautiful and having my son, and every person that has a child, there is weight to carry, right? Because you are their example. You are raising them. They are looking up to you. They're dependent on you. And that's, you know, that's heavy. And so, you know, my ex took that experience away from me to be the mother I've always hoped and have been. He took that experience away, you know, since he was born, and with the experience of pregnancy as well. And so I've been carrying like heaviness with me and being in survival mode as a mother. And a few days ago, I was talking to God, and it just came out of nowhere. You know, God knows our heart, and He knows that what is overwhelming, what is like hard for us, you know, because of how things happened, right? It's just more traumatic, you know. Becoming a mother was more traumatic to me, and I couldn't see the light with that. And that would break my heart, because it's like, you know, it's not me, it's the experience I went through. It's the other person who not necessarily ruined the experience. He didn't ruin it, because we could gain it back, right? But just made me go through things that I couldn't put my full focus onto my son, you know, my newborn. And now, thank the Lord that the past few months is when I started, you know, that I have done the work within me, have healed from this traumatic experience with this narc ex, and everything he tried to put onto me and do and mess myself up, because self-worth, self-love, confidence, abandonment, like everything times 10 is what he made me feel and go through. And you know, it was just, I'm like, I need to put in I worked so hard to heal and overcome, so I could be a better mother and be there 100% for my baby. And because I don't want to be that unhealed parent. Like, I never wanted to be that in the first place, but I got with a person who was a complete opposite, and made me believe that he was like me and similar to me and same values and morals, and it was all not real, you know. And I got over those things of his betrayal easier. It was much easier. But the part of not being able to be the mother for my son completely from the time he came out of my womb really broke me. And I couldn't forgive myself. I felt like I couldn't love myself for that reason. And I forgave myself for not being able to be there for my son, because we had to survive, you know. We had to, you know, some days, some some months, some seasons were struggle, struggle, struggle. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills. To some months I was getting help from the other parent financially, or from family or whatever. Like, it was just, I was surviving, and until I couldn't do it anymore. And I just gave it all to God. And just a few days ago, it's not, I don't know how to express it. Later I'm gonna know the right words. But just handing my son over to God, that's what I did a few days ago. And it took out so much pressure from me, because I'm the only one he has. I'm the only one that is his ride or die, is gonna be there for him. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna love him unconditionally. I'm gonna teach him, show him, discipline him, teach him to be righteous, teach him to love God and to pray, and show him evil versus good. I'm that person because no one else will be that role model for him. And that's big pressure. That's heavy to carry. And when you don't have that for yourself in your life, you're the first one. So that's more pressure. It's heavier because you need to make your own path. A lot of us are the first ones in a lot of things in our families and our generations. And it's heavy shit to carry. And this is one of the things that I gave to God, I gave it to God, and I said, Lord, you're gonna guide me, you're going to use me to be who you want, or who you want my son to be. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but just to carry him and guide him when I am not with him, because I used to worry. Like, I don't like to control, but I've done that my whole life, controlling situations and outcomes and all this and that, so things don't get worse, so problems and chaos doesn't come into our lives, right? And so I just lost my train of thought. And so, yeah, I gave it to God, and I'm like, oh yes, the worriness. My parents were worrying, always worrying about everything, and having fear and being depressed. Like, that's both generations, mom and dad side, both had the same, very similar things. And I just grew up like that. And so I became my mom and my dad in some ways, being worried all the time, because we lived in, my parents lived in survival mode, right? Being immigrants here in the US, and lots of other things. But I would always worry, because I didn't feel safe ever in my life. And I always wanted, I want that for my son, right? And not until, I started getting closer to the Lord, and building this really, really close relationship, an intimate relationship with the Lord, is when I started feeling safe. And it's a process. And it was more me than God, of course, but I'm just so proud of, like, I am leveling up and letting go and giving it to God, having trust in him. And it's just something beautiful. So it's like giving my son to God. in a sense, like, here is my son when I am not, I'm letting go of worry, of fear, of safety towards my son when he's not with me, or, for anything or anyone not to affect him, his mind, his emotions, physically, everything. I would have so much pressure. I would put it onto myself, where I can just let it go and give it to God, right? And that's something I had to work within me first, for myself, before I could do that with my son. And so I did that a few days ago, right? And I haven't felt so light ever since. And also, my son has been on fire for the Lord, talking about, just having faith, and being positive, and just being at peace. My son feeling content, because our kids, they absorb everything. They don't maybe speak and have clear communication, right? Because they're small, but they feel everything. And my son's very sensitive as well, but he's a little ball of fire, so he has more courage, and to act or say things or whatever. He's not gonna stand down, he's gonna speak up. And that's just who he is. And that's something that I want to make him feel safe with me and in our home, for him to be safe, and for him to know himself, and get to know himself, and just the journey in itself. The bigger he gets, he's 4.5 now. He has conversations with me, and he asks questions, and it's just really neat. It's really, really cool, because having this experience with my son is also healing my childhood, because these are things I never got to do. My parents, it's like they were never there for me. And my parents are not at fault for everything. They had their own traumas, their own things they had to work through, their own healing they had to do. And for a very long time, they didn't even touch that area, because they had to survive in America. They were illegal here. Now they're not, because through me, everyone got their visa. And now we have a residency. So you know, I give my parents that grace. But it gets to a point where it's just, adults are adults, they're grown-ups, right? They're grown and they can make their own choices. And if you choose not to heal, and it's the same cycle and you keep hurting your kids and this and that, it becomes something else. It's selfishness. And yeah, so my son's been more intuitive. He's been more connected to the spiritual realm, more connected to God, to the angels. He's starting to feel spirit and not be so afraid of the spiritual realm, because there is another, it's another world, you know. It's like, it's not, you know, it's in the 5D, not in the 3D. Is it the 5D? But just connecting to higher beings and feeling them, and not being scared, because when we are in the unknown, and when we feel that as well, because we could feel spirit, we could feel like something's going on, we can't see it, we get afraid. And that's how my son is. And you know, kids aren't born with fear, but the things we've gone through, the things I projected onto my son as well, he has learned that and has absorbed that, you know. And you know, we're working to heal and to overcome and to stop bad habits, because there's some bad habits sometimes, and just becoming better each and every day. The other day his father called, and I don't know what happened, you know, like the day I energetically cut people off, everything changed. When I made the decision within me that done is done, everything just changed. Everything got silent. Everything, it's like the feeling is like how I mentioned when it's like the first snow of, you know, it's just the first snow of the year, or you know, it snows and it's just quiet and peaceful and it's gentle and it's beautiful outside, right? It's sticking. That's how my life was. And yeah. So his father called, and you know, I usually communicate with him through WhatsApp, and I've been deleting a lot. I've been cleaning, detoxing my home, myself, my mind, my emotions, everything. My phone, the apps on my phone, deleting everything, just everything that feels heavy, I'm removing it, you know. And I like to, especially at home, move things around, furniture, everything, to move the energy. Because when you start feeling stuck, you need to move stuck energy. And I would do that every single season in my house when I was dealing more heavily with my ex, because he would send out energy, negative energy, and I was suffocating, you know. It's like he was siphoning me, he was draining me, and he was attacking me, and so many more things. And so I had to find a way to remove that energy from my home, because it doesn't matter how far you are away from someone, it could still happen. And you know, I've been doing that since I cut people off energetically and distance myself from them, you know. And a lot of the times you don't have to literally verbally say it, like, I'm done with you or whatever. Like, people are gonna know. You could just distance yourself, and that's it. Like, they don't care about you anyways, right? So yeah, I was, even all my photos, I'm like deleting so many photos, you know, trying to overcome this emotional attachment, right? That's why it's so important to heal all the trauma that I had through pregnancy and giving birth and the first few years of my son's life. This is very traumatic. It's like I didn't dream of this. I didn't want this, you know. This is not what I planned for. This is not what I wanted, and I couldn't control. I didn't have control over it. And that was very, very hard for me to swallow that truth, you know. After all that I've been through as a child, and now my son's going through it, you know, that would tear me up. And you know, I'm like, I have to take accountability, responsibility, take action, start healing, because if not, it's just gonna be a cycle over and over. So I started doing the work within, because that's the only thing I had control over. Even though I was still in toxic environments and still had family members in my, you know, in my life, because I needed that support still. You know, I did not feel strong enough at all. This narc ex, like, broke me and threw me away in every way possible. And it's just crazy how bad they get to you, and how they destroy your self-esteem and your self-worth and your self-love. And it's just crazy how it happens. It's so calculated, and I'm just in shock, you know. I'm just like, after seeing it from like a higher spot, and I see what happened, I'm just in shock. Like, a person so evil and so calculated and so controlling and so demonic, I can't fathom. I can't even put myself in their shoes. I can't. And then how can you make the mother of your child suffer like that, you know? They're the ones taking care of your child. These people don't care about their child at all. at all, not even one bit. That's something else I had to really see it for what it was, see the truth. And that also broke me. That cracked my heart, opened. And I had to muster up the faith, the courage, the strength to be, and just saying it out loud. I am my son's mother and father. It broke me because my parents divorced, or they separated when I was 8 years old. And that broke my whole life, just turned upside down when they separated. And that was my first heartbreak. And I'm like, I don't want that for, when I have kids. I don't want to be separated or divorced. I don't want my son or my child to suffer. And that's what happened, and I had to face it. And that was just really heartbreaking for me. A lot of healing and looking at the truth. So let's get back on track. Where was I? Yeah, so I deleted WhatsApp, and since I cut these people out energetically, and I'm like, I'm done, whatever. Like, it's done with, 37 minutes, damn. I didn't even tell, his father anything. I just left it like that. There's days, there's weeks where he doesn't even communicate with his son. Sometimes I have to call because his son is asking for him. That's how inconsistent he is in his son's life. Some days he's sincere manipulators and emotional manipulators. He will draw his son back in. One day he's gonna be high with love, showing him his son love and affection and being so so close to him, and then the next day nothing, and then the next day 20%, the next day, it's not consistent. And I got very tired of that. I saw my son, what it affects him. I'm like, it's affecting my son to keep his father in his life. But there were things I had to go through legally through the court system that, I don't need to have him in my life, but I was depending on him financially as well. So I had to keep communication with him, even though he was financially abuse. Me having to ask, he's draining my energy, taking my energy, because I need to ask, I need to plead. And, I had to learn with him how to manage that, because it's not fun. It's not fun. And, thank God I know how to let go now, and yeah, so he called a few nights ago. He called on my phone, my regular phone, since I deleted WhatsApp. Nothing was coming in, no calls or anything. And he decides to call on the regular phone. Oh, what's going on? You know, what happened? Are you guys okay? After a few days. And I'm like, oh, yeah, everything's fine. Like, you know, I had forgotten I even did that. It was not on purpose, but I'm like, energetically, I'm done. You know, like, you don't even exist. We are better off without you than with you in our lives. We are happier. We're at peace. Mama and baby, you know? And he wanted to talk to his son. And so they do FaceTime on the tablet, on the iPad, and my son just starts talking about Jesus and God and the heavens and angels and the devil and like good versus bad and just the little fire within him and how passionate he was talking about it, and he was not stopping. I was just so proud of him. I was just so proud of him because my son is learning from me, you know, and I'm proud of myself too, because it's been really, really hard. And all I want is for my son to look up to me in a good way where he could learn from me and be proud of his mom, you know. And he's been hurt by his father, and that is why, you know, he said a lot of this, you know. And I am real with him, you know. The times that I've removed my family, removed his dad, we've gone months not speaking to them, you know, I am truthful with him, not in a vulgar or pessimistic way, but hey, God is asking us to remove these people because they're doing more harm than good. God is asking us to, you know, God needs to work on them. God needs to heal them. They need to put in the work. They need to do the work. They need to heal, because hurt people, and people that are not healed will hurt you, you know. And if they're hurting mama and baby, they can't be in our lives, you know. And over and over, I would tell him, and sometimes he would get angry with me and try to take it out on me, because his grandpa, my stepdad, was closer to him than my actual dad. My actual dad really never took him on outings or anything, which is something that also shocked me when my son was he was a baby, because he never did anything with him. So he made himself be a good parent, but as a grandparent, as a parent too, it was the illusion that he was the good parent. My mom was the bad. But he was even a shittier grandpa, my own father. And so he was more attached to my stepdad. He would take him on outings. He would buy him toys and just have fun experiences with him. And so, you know, that would pull on my heartstrings. And, you know, it's just another cycle again. I would need help with someone watching my son, or financial help, or my son missed, you know, his grandparents, things like this. And I've always had a lot of issues with my son's daycares or schools, and that is why I've had to go back to family, because I need help. It's only me here. My son's father lives 1,000 miles away, and so who else is going to take care of my son, right? If I'm having issues at his daycare, they can't take care of him. I am with him. I cannot work. You know, so much warfare going on. And that is why I would get looped back into my family. And it was really hard to overcome this. So let's finish off. It's 45 minutes in. So yeah, he was talking to his dad about the Lord, or being so passionate about it. And his dad started getting irritated. Like, what are you saying? I can't hear you. Turn that down. He had his Tony box next to him, my son's Tony box, which you put like many figures of like your favorite cartoons or whatever, and it sings to you about the character, or tells you stories. But he could hear him clearly. He just wanted him to shut up, you know? And after a few minutes, you know, my son goes off. He's in his own world, just at peace, because for a long time my son was dealing with depression as well. Like, when you're pregnant, your child will absorb and take on all the feelings, emotions you're feeling. And he's been through it too, just like me. Trauma, you know? And so, you know, I go back to the chair, to my desk, and that's where the tablet was. And he tells me, "Oh, what's wrong with Mateo? What's wrong with your," I see, like, what's wrong with him? Like, I knew he was getting irritated. You know, he's like, "What's wrong with him?" Like, nothing is wrong with him. He's perfect. He's fine. You know, but I was so proud of my baby. And, you know, he didn't like that. He didn't like that we're saying that, you know, the devil, Satan, he's evil, he's not good. God, we love God. He's the world. He's the best, you know, he's light. Like, he loves us so much, just pouring into, you know, that love. That's what my son was saying. And he hated to hear that. He hated to hear that and see how my son was speaking about the Lord, and how it made him feel, and how it made him stronger and more courageous and more faithful. He was really, really just upset about it. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, you know, after a few minutes, just, he's going through it. He looks like hell. He looks like shit. He's going through it, you know, and I don't want to tap into whatever he's going through, because I can, but I don't want to tap into that. That's his own, not my responsibility. That's his own thing, right? With God. And, you know, we're just being God's children, being obedient and not going back. So after a few minutes, I'm like, okay, we have to go. Like, we have to cut the call short, because then he slowly starts to emotionally finding his ways to try to snake himself to attach back to us emotionally. And yeah, you know, my son's content, and that was my job, my purpose, for my son to feel content that he has his mom, and he sometimes calls me mom and dad, you know, and that's fine. You know, he's going through his own healing journey as well, accepting that he doesn't have a father, And that's okay. There's many families like this, right? And it's okay. And I also realized my own family was making him feel bad because he didn't have a dad. There was a lot of signs that my son was giving me, like he would get more depressed and like, oh, you know, like just signs that I saw. And I realized, and I asked him, and my own family, my own mom and dad were making him feel like crap, like he should be like this because he doesn't have his dad in his life, you know, projecting onto him. My son's very smart, he's like my mini me. He's very intuitive. He sees beyond. He sees a lot of things energetically. He doesn't need to be, someone doesn't need to speak to him like verbally, because he's gonna understand. Even adults, he sees the evil within people, the good and bad. That's why we've had issues with teachers, with daycare people, because they're not there for good intentions. They're there for the money. They're there for whatever it is, but they're not there for, from their heart, to take care of kids, to play with them, to be with them. And my son saw that, and he would rebel or go against it or not listen, and not do, because I don't care who it is, I'm not gonna do something because you're telling me. Like, if it's not in you, if you're just telling me, like trying to control me and you know, whatever, it's not gonna happen. No one but God. We should not be obedient only to God, right? And so my son has that fire within him already. And yeah, so that is why I've had so much issues with the staff, with schools. It's not my son's fault. He's never been a bad boy. He's never been aggressive or anything. Maybe yelling, frustration, showing anger, because it's like no one is going to control him, especially if they're forcing him to. No one's going to do that, and he's going to show himself. He's going to show, like, no, I'm not going to take it. And of course, I'm his mom. I'm going to intuitively know what's happening. Like, I catch on real quick. In the span, not even 2 weeks, I'm gonna know if it's a good place for him or not, you know. And I will put the teachers in their place, you know. We just got done with an investigation by the state because he lasted not even 2 weeks at a public school. You know, I was testing the waters out. He's not going to start kindergarten yet until next year, but testing the waters out. There was a preschool within the elementary school, separate program, but for kids that are in preschool. And I registered him in the summer to start in the fall when public school starts, so he could get a feel of how public school is, right? And bigger school and bigger kids, and you know, the atmosphere and all that. He didn't even last 2 weeks. The teacher, the main one, and the assistant, they have been teaching for more than 15 years. So they've been together for a long time teaching, and they were verbally, emotionally abusing him and other kids. And since I met the teachers, I'm like, something is not gonna work out here. Something doesn't feel right. You know, even though he hasn't started school, something about these teachers is not gonna work out. They're not there for it. They're not passionate about it. They're fucking dead. Like, their soul is dead. And I'm like, this is not gonna work out, but we're gonna try it out because mama needs to work too. I need to work, you know, and we need to keep going. And so, and my son started feeling energetically like, I don't know, like kind of not wanting to step forward, not being so excited about school. The first day he was happy, he was excited, and it was a half day. It was just like, let's see how the kids do at a bigger school type of day. And then the next week they were going to start full days. Yeah, and it was 5 days a week. That's a lot. And his first day, like full day, he came back. It took me 4 days to notice. And he started changing little by little. He wasn't himself. He was more depressed. He was more lacking self-confidence, self-worth, little by little, creeping in. Say what's going on, and he wouldn't want to tell me. It's like it's a secret. He was being more silenced, silent about it, about school. And Mama, I don't want to go to school. Mama, I don't like it. But he wouldn't tell me in detail. He's very expressive, so he's gonna share as most as he can, and the week after, the second week, I took him for 2 days, and then took him for 1 day, and then the next day he said, I don't want to go. He did not want to get off the car. He was having a full tantrum. He doesn't want to go. He's not going to get out of the car. We were at the school parking lot. I said, what's going on? Like, Mama has to go to work. You have to go to school. What's going on? Tell me now. What's going on? I don't want to go to school. And I felt something serious. Like, obviously I've been feeling this, slowly. But something serious. He doesn't want to go. He's scared. I said, okay, we're leaving. And I just made the day about him and for him to feel safe, and trying to work with him to tell me, the next day, a few days before, I'm like, no, that second week, I took him to school. That day, he went to school all day. As soon as I dropped him off, I'm calling people, I'm sending messages, emails, looking online, to find tours, to find an opening for other schools, to check other places out, because I know this is not going to work out. Something is up here. Something is not okay. Something's wrong. He's being mistreated, and the next day I take him back to school and he doesn't want to get off the car. So that was a Thursday. Friday comes and we had a tour at a daycare. It wasn't a preschool, it was more daycare center. And, good things people are talking about. And I'm not trying to be desperate about it and whatever, but I need to find a place for my son, and I need to be more discerning. I need, I always try to be like this, but and so he has a full tantrum. He's acting out, not listening to me, wanting to hit me. So he's reenacting how he was at the school he was being mistreated at. He was reenacting it. And pulled my hair and, just being very, very enraged with me. Not wanting to listen, not wanting to leave right after the tour. And I was really, really embarrassed because the director was watching it. The sub-director was seeing it, and first impression is gonna be, oh, he's bad. He's a bad boy. He doesn't listen. He doesn't cooperate. That's not my son at all. He turned. Um, and I broke out crying. I broke out crying in the car. You know, like, this is not you. Like, what's going on with you? My heart was achy, and I'm like, what happened? And then he told me, you know, his teachers have been doing this. Teacher Karen and Teacher Megan, they have been doing this to me. They have been acting like this, and they do this to this girl too, and they put us here and this and that. And I'm like, okay. And I called and I made reports, and I called the states, and I made a police report, because I've dealt with the system before, and I know that they're not going to take you seriously if you're not doing police reports. And even the officer on the phone was with me, and telling me his concerns and his worries, because he had a 9-month-old girl, baby girl, and, you know, telling me, how far do you want to take this, and all this and that, right? And I just didn't have the energy, you know. I couldn't, you know, I just left it to God. But that just took me through like a swirl, a storm, and healing more of my childhood, of what had happened to my son happened to me too when I was a child, and healing both of us. Like, I went into a depression, like just darkness. I didn't want to get out of bed. My son was feeling awful too. He didn't have self-worth, confidence, just didn't feel good about himself, because they fucking engraved that into him. And he didn't even go for a full 2 weeks. And that just broke me. And we both had to heal together, and we got closer. We got more intimate, and you know, there was an investigation with the state, but they don't do shit, because the system is just broken already. They don't consider emotional and mental abuse as abuse. Like, unless it's physical and they see it, there is just gonna be dismissed. It took like almost 3 months to close it. You know, they sent me an email a few days ago. They're like, oh, it's unfounded. Like, there is no abuse that they realized. Like, they talked to the teachers. I'm like, of course, this teacher has almost 20 years of experience. She knows how the system works, how to get around it, and how to manipulate and control people, and like be delusional, and just, you know. And I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it. It was a process though. It was a few months of a process of like not being angry about it, and not being like enraged with these teachers, like not feeling like revengeful, you know. It's just like, you know, it took a lot out of me, and, you know, I had to be there for my son and stand up and be courageous. And we are not going to be brought down. We're going to stand back up, and we're going to heal from this and do it the healthy way, not the toxic way or the coping way. No, you don't feel good today. Why don't you feel good? Tell me, talk to me about it. Why are you, you know, like mad? Why are you crying? Why do you not feel good about yourself? Things like this, right? And that helped them a lot. And I had a lot of anxiety. He just started a new school, a few weeks ago, and I was very anxious. I went to go see, got a tour of the place by myself, and can't talk. And then I brought my son in, and they did like an evaluation on him, and I told them the truth, you know, like, why am I gonna lie? They're gonna see it in the system anyways. I'm very honest. And, you know, I told them what, a little bit, just a little glimpse, so they're aware of what's going on, and there's an open investigation with the state and with the public school. And they said, okay, we're gonna evaluate, because the things my son was going through, a lack of this, lack of that, he wasn't so confident, and he wasn't so confident within himself and about school, and didn't have that motivation to wanting to learn. He had anxiety just thinking about school and teachers, especially. He thought all the teachers were bad. And so it was a process, and I just had a lot of anxiety and worry, like a lot of anxiety. And, just taking it day by day, and praying and being guided. I was guided to the school, and so far everything's been good. Some days he's only going part-time. Some days he doesn't want to go, some days he does. So far it's good. My son is very sensitive. He has started being more sensitive in spirit, and he could feel things. And right now there's bad kids at school that are not listening, not wanting to listen, and the teachers, get upset and they don't want to listen. They're just being bad, and he feels like he needs to do something about it. He feels that weight, that he needs to do something about it, right? Because he feels so much as well, that he's I think my son's a healer. He could heal them. He could help them out. He could solve their problems. Why are you feeling like this? In his own way. And it's been like weighing on him, and I'm like, this is not your responsibility. This is the teacher's job, not yours. He can't even focus at school because the kids are acting up. And it's not like a toxic environment, but some kids, this is just because at home it's like that. So, it's just reminding him right now that it's not his job to, yes, we have big missions on this earth. God loves us, and he wants us to do good and show others by example and this and that. And, but it's not ours to carry other kids or other people's burdens, right? Or problems or issues, or when they're acting out and they're being not good. So that's what we're working on right now. And we saw the 2 little girls that are in his class when I dropped them off at school this morning. And he told me, oh, that's the girl that acts bad. And she looked like she was not in the best mood, the little girl. Very attitude-y. And, I saw the parents, and I'm like, okay, I understand, but, just reminding him before we go inside the school, it's okay. That's not your responsibility. You focus on yourself. You look somewhere else, or look outside into the sky, or look at the plants, talk to yourself. It's like he has some anxiety issues right now. And that's because of what happened a few months ago with the public schools. It's like he's getting triggered. Yep. Anyways, guys, it's been an hour. Yesterday's video, I recorded it in the morning, like early morning, and it didn't get uploaded. It took all freaking day to upload until 8-9 o'clock at night, which is annoying, but we'll see how this one does. What time is it? It's like 9:30 right now. Okay. It's 10 o'clock. Okay, you guys have a good day. I will talk to you guys later. God bless you guys. And I'm always praying for you, making sure that you're fine. And everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this. And I miss you. I miss your videos. Take time to yourself. It's important to take care of yourself, your mental health. Being alone is very important. Sometimes we have to get off from recording, from being online, because when we're recording, also our energy is going out. A lot of people are taking our energy, and some are good, some are bad. There's monitoring spirits and all this, so we need breaks. So take care of your energetic field, because it's really important to protect ourselves. And it's not always good to say everything online, right? Because there's not so good people out there that are watching us. There's, you know, people that want to harm us. And yes, we are protected by the Most High, and no weapons formed against us shall prosper. But it's still important, you know, to be discerning in that area. But I do enjoy watching all your videos and, you know, listening into hearing your life story and your details, you know, and your advice and the things you like, the things you don't like. I enjoy it very much. So I'm looking forward to watching a video today. Okay, take care. Bye.